In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at these current conditions, and then we're going to dive into the upcoming pattern. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. There is multiple upcoming potential snowstorms for the eastern United States, even including the east coast along the southeast, mid-Atlantic, and northeast, as colder air later on in the pattern does make its way in. So we're going to be taking a look at all of these things. So we're going to be focusing primarily on that. We can tell the jet stream is doing something along these lines. We can see some warm air surging right here, evident by these thunderstorms taking place. You can see snowfall diving down the west coast and also back up the northern plains. We see this taking place. And really, there's just a lot of high pressure set up in here, indicating very dry air is going to be taking place, and we do see that taking place. So let's take a look at our west coast here, and we can see some showers, both in the form of rainfall and snowfall taking place along Washington, Oregon, and California's coastline there. Or not coastline, but kind of more inland, especially for the snowfall. We can see the Sierra Nevada still seeing extremely heavy snowfall around for these areas. Then again, back on this back end of the trough, we could see some snowfall and rainfall depending on where you're at for Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota there. We see plenty of this snowfall, even in the whites and blues being extremely heavy snowfall here in these areas, depending on where you're at. Now, this is really the interesting thing here is these thunderstorms taking place here for Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi. Very, very spring-like weather here for these areas. These lines are indicating that we have a jet stream pushing northward through this region, and this is surging the warm air for this area, so it is much warmer this morning, and also it is going to be much more humid, and thunderstorms will be around. That's pretty evident at this point. Florida, Georgia, we're also seeing these showers and thunderstorms taking place. As we work our way towards the northeast, we can see a passing snowfall shower working its way through for Maine. And this is likely going to keep lifting off northward just like this. So we will see this eventually come to an end. But wouldn't be surprised if for this very northern area here in Maine, we are seeing some accumulation taking place as this is heavier snowfall and it has been pretty consistent and persistent this morning. So certainly something to pay attention to. And overall, again, this pattern is doing this. And I think that's the focal point here. We have very, very warm air working its way into the east in general and very cold air diving southward here for a lot of the west. Now, what we're going to do is move on here and take a look at the upcoming pattern. Again, multiple snowfall opportunities here coming up soon. Now, here we are taking a look at the upcoming pattern here. We're taking a look at plenty of snowfall taking place here for the Rockies, a lot of the west in general. Again, we're still seeing this same pattern shape right here. We do see the high pressure setting up out east as well. And now as we take this towards tomorrow afternoon or evening, this is what we're taking a look at. We see more of this storminess surging in from the Gulf as this warm air is heading northward. And this is going to probably be in the form of thunderstorms for many different folks here. We also have our next storm system moving in out west. That does include snowfall for the Sierra Nevadas, the Cascades, and the Rockies, of course. So we're seeing plenty of areas of storminess taking place here. By the time we're reaching later on into Saturday, into Sunday, that's going to be New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. It's going to be quite stormy along the eastern United States. I can't remember a New Year's Eve where I saw on TV that it was raining or even snowing there in New York City. Perhaps I'm wrong, but this is going to be interesting as we approach into New Year's Day here. There could be some very stormy conditions there in New York. And this is going to be surging northward, very warm, very humid, and very stormy. We do see this storm system diving south, bringing heavy snowfall here between California and Nevada there. Definitely worth noting. As we work our way Sunday into Monday here, we can see that there is a bit of a storm system developing here, bringing, again, this potential severe weather and thunderstorms underneath, the snowfall over top here, and certainly a very, very interesting look. It's mostly, and we do see a snowfall event happen here for the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, but it's mostly as we approach the 5th and beyond. First off, starting out on the 5th, we do get this low that takes a track about like this. And this is kind of a Miller-B nor'easter look. We do have this snowfall happening in these areas here with this system. And that does generously slide off the coast pretty much in a very innocent manner, We do see a flatter jet stream here to end things around the 8th, but mostly I want to take a look at the GFS model here where things get very, very interesting. So we see the same thing happen basically all the way up until the 5th. We don't get as much of a hit there. But look at this, around the 6th, 7th time frame, we get a full-on Miller A nor'easter that wants to come up the coast here. And this is mostly possible because of the jet stream doing this. We have a little bit more ridging going on. I know there's snowfall, but the jet stream is generally tilted towards the eastern United States, and we are seeing more cold air pour in. And this is what allows for cold enough air for a snowstorm to take place along the eastern seaboard there. We do see this develop, very classic look, bringing a very coastal look here. I mean, all the way as far south as perhaps Raleigh, North Carolina, Norfolk, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, Boston. These are all your classic East Coast snow areas for Miller A nor'easters, better yet. Certainly a very interesting possibility, and this low actually develops quite nicely. As you can see, a very strong nor'easter, and this would bring very, very heavy snowfall totals. And it doesn't end there. We do get a little bit of a minor snow event, perhaps, this model trends at. Another minor one further south here down the mid-Atlantic coast. And a little bit later on, we do get some ridging beginning around the midpoint of the month. Obviously, it can't stay cold forever, but I found this very, very interesting here. Let's take a look here at our total snowfall in here so we can see what this would lead to. And as you can see, for the eastern United States, we have 1 to 2 feet of snowfall there for a lot of these areas in here, and at least accumulating snowfall for all of these areas. So this would be a big change versus what we have been dealing with. Certainly very interesting scenario to consider. Going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But as of right now, all we can say is the probability and the possibility is there for snowfall in the eastern United States as long as that cold air later on does move in. So those possibilities are slowly increasing. Definitely interesting to track. As we take a look here at the temperature anomalies, we can see we're going to be full-on warm pattern all the way from now through into the first week of January. We've talked about this as well. January 4th especially looks extremely hot. Is it January 4th or July 4th here? Very, very far above normal temperatures in here. Going to be one of those 60 to 70 degree days in January. So I guess my July 4th comment there was a little bit exaggerated, but we do see 60s and 70s around, which is going to feel like 80s this time of year. Usually 70 degrees feels a lot warmer in the winter than it does in the summertime. I've noticed if it's July and it gets down to 70, it feels very, very cold, almost like you need a hoodie. Well, when it happens in January, you feel like you need to wear a tank top and shorts. It's interesting how we get acclimated to the weather around us, and when something like that switches up in a hurry, it changes your perspective quite a bit. We do get cooler air for a period here. As you can see, the models are in disagreement here, the ensemble models. So we see some cooler air, very, very slight, some warmer air, very, very slight here. This is probably half the models calling for warmth and half of them calling for cool air. As we get a more determined forecast here, we should see this either get very blue or very orange, and that will kind of dictate where this goes. So take it with a grain of salt. The confidence is not the highest it's ever been, and it's going to be certainly interesting to track, but again, take it with a grain of salt. We do see that later on in the pattern, towards the middle point of the month, this model also has us getting very warm, just like our GFS model did, with some cooler air out west. So both model groups at this point have that conclusion later on, towards the middle point of the month. Again, we're also going to take that with a grain of salt, because that still is 2 weeks away, but certainly interesting to pay attention to. Be sure to subscribe, as we do upload every single day, and we will get to the bottom of all of this a little bit later on. Be sure to hit the bell icon as well for daily notifications so you never miss an upload. Like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.